Welcome to Real TV. I'm your host, Catherine Thompson, and today my guests are Tom and Jerry Easton from the St. Clair County Humane Society. Welcome. And you have a couple of other guests to introduce to us.
Indeed.
Thank you. Yes, these are our kids. This boy down here is Bart. We adopted him from the Humane Society almost 4 years ago, and this girl here, Sweetie, turn around and show your pretty face. This is Sweetie.
They both came with the names, Bart and Sweetie.
Right.
And she is a Sweetie.
Sweetie came to us last April, and she's a little over 3 years old, and they just are best buddies.
They're very well behaved. Definitely.
They are wonderful. They just, any dog will be well behaved if you give them a little patience and understanding.
And love.
And love, lots of love.
Jerry, what's the difference between the Humane Society and the animal control, or the dog pound as many of us know it?
Thank you for asking. That's an excellent question. The animal control or dog pound is a county-financed, supported organization. They have people that go out and pick up stray animals, nuisance animals. The Humane Society is privately funded. We get no support from any government agencies at all. We get nothing from any other Humane Society. We get nothing from Michigan Humane Society, for example. We are not part of the Michigan Humane Society.
How do you get your funds in?
Donations, private donations. People,
Entirely.
some businesses. We would like to have more business support. We have some exciting ideas. We have some things we'd like to be doing that will require more money.
Well, why don't you share some of those with us?
Okay. Right now, we have 2 education programs. We have the program that Tom and I have in the schools where we go and talk to boys and girls about being safe with pets and responsible care and the interconnectedness of all living things. And then recently we opened at the shelter the Creative Nature Center. It's in the building behind the Humane Society, and this is respect for all living things through art. Laura Kenning, who's the director, is an artist, and she leads the boys and girls who come there through experiencing nature through art. And it's a neat program. We also have a free vaccination clinic coming up in April, or no, not April, March 20th, free vaccination clinic for low-income families to try and get some of these animals that are going to get sick if they aren't vaccinated, get them vaccinated. And we have the cooperation of several veterinarians in the area.
So are they you're going to have that free vaccination clinic
At the shelter.
At the shelter.
And do you want to give the address for?
6266 Lapeer Road. It's in Clyde.
We have flyers out right now, and there'll be PSAs on the television stations, and we hope to improve the health of animals. Our not too long-range hope is to have a spay and neuter clinic to help bring the pet overpopulation in the county under control.
How bad is the pet overpopulation?
Epidemic proportions. All over. It's just-
70,000 cats and dogs are born every day in the United States. There are not enough homes
that
for
means
them.
today and tomorrow another 70,000. It's just amazing.
Roughly 10 million animals are euthanized, unwanted animals are euthanized every year in this country.
Oh,
It's
sad.
just so important to have your pet spayed or neutered. They'll be healthier, they'll be
Yeah, they
happier.
actually are.
Well, the clinic, when is this going to take place, and how do people find out about the spaying and the neutering?
We haven't, that isn't even in the works yet. That's going to take a lot of money, and we don't have the money for that. We would welcome contributions for that, but that is down the road at least a year, I would say, possibly longer. Just depends on the money.
We'd like to
Because-
expand the facility out there, the building itself, so that animals could have a place to run, rather than just depending on some people to take them out walking once in a bit.
Right,
Because right now we have 80 cages, and it's just too bad that that's the only place for them.
We'd like a separate room for cats.
Yes.
So that they don't have to be in the same room and hear dogs barking.
Right.
We need dog runs, we need a cat room, we need a lot of things, but this is all going to take more money.
Do you have the physical land to expand, or do you have to get?
Yes, we
Yes.
have space to expand. We'd also, well, we have lots of ideas. We'd like to open an ongoing used goods shop somewhere in town.
What do you mean by used goods?
Rummage type things. You know, we have our Christmas bazaar, and we have used items there. It's like a big garage sale. And if we had a place where we could have these kinds of things available to the public year-round, it would be a source of income for us. And we would also be able to have adoption information out, and we could have it would be another way of communicating with the community.
Those are good ideas. How do you get the animals that...
They're brought to us.
And
For one reason or another, if a family can no longer take care of their pet, perhaps they're moving into an apartment that doesn't accept them, and they bring them to us. And hopefully they're healthy, happy, and we can get them adopted right away. Unfortunately, there are so many others that are brought to us that are not in that condition.
I know you brought some photos with you of some of the, we'll look at those in a few minutes,
Yeah.
but of some of the animals that have been brought to you and the condition in which they came to you. Could you describe some of those?
Yeah, well, it's the thing that gets me the most is that so many of these animals that have these terrible afflictions or conditions,
Okay.
it's highly preventable if they just see a veterinarian.
One dog came to us with mange. The poor dog
What
had
exactly is mange?
It's a skin problem. I believe it's a parasite, and it causes loss of hair. This poor dog was kept outdoors well, first it was indoors. The mange developed, doggy started to smell bad. Rather than take the dog to a veterinarian, get the problem taken care of, tie the dog up outside till it finally got so bad that it was rubbing itself raw. Then they brought it to us. Another animal that came in it was a little Shih Tzu, had a tumor on it the size of a grapefruit, and this tumor didn't develop that size overnight. It was oozing a smelly, nasty gunk, and the lady who brought it in said, "Oh, I couldn't take her to the vet. I love her too much." And
Still trying to figure that one out.
mites, maggots get in the ears of some dogs with floppy, hangy down type ears. Maggots get in, and a mite will get in there. You get an infection, then there's pus, and then the maggots come in and start eating it. And we have maggot infestations frequently in the summertime.
In addition to the animals that are obviously sick physically, there are the animals that have been so badly abused and mistreated that they're actually afraid of people. You put them in a cage and they just hang back. They don't want to even come out. And
Is it possible to do anything when the animal is in that condition? And is it possible to recondition it so another family could adopt it?
it
Or
would be tremendous outlay of money and time.
If we had a fostering program, that's another
Yeah.
thing we would like to develop. down
and
the
what
road.
exactly is a fostering
Where-
program for animals?
People would commit to taking animals into their home and rehabilitating them. But this is a huge commitment. They would see to their well-being and try to get them into an adoptable state. But this takes a long time, and it takes a lot of people being very committed. And it can't just be somebody who's well-meaning. It has to be someone who understands that the animals can't be running loose, that they have to be given a lot of love and care. They have to have their vaccinations up to date. Sometimes animals don't have their vaccinations early enough, and they're out in the public and they pick up parvo. Parvovirus is just a terrible thing. It's a terrible killer of dogs, and it's just everywhere. That's why it's so important that people have their pets vaccinated. That's one of the reasons we're having the vaccination clinic, to try and stop that problem.
It's really sad. I wonder if people really understand how much of a commitment it is to get an animal, to own an animal. A lot of times, and I'm glad we did this after Christmas,
Yes.
a lot of times parents will say, "Oh, I think I'll get my child a puppy or a kitten for Christmas," and then you see the dog under the tree. It's like hanging and the kids beating it around, and then
Right.
they're going to grandma's, and
Right.
the dog's left alone.
And eats the ornaments off the tree, and the cat will eat the tinsel. Cats will be drawn to the tinsel on the tree. Christmas time is a real dangerous time for
a
our
lot of
pets.
turmoil at Christmas. It's a bad time to introduce a pet to a family.
Well, what
Because
did-
you're talking about commitment. That is a key to the whole thing. The raising the awareness of the community as to how an animal should be treated is the most important job.
Well, what advice could you give for a parent who's deciding if he or she should purchase a puppy or a kitten
Well,
for his
first,
youngster?
look at your lifestyle. Is someone home to teach the puppy or kitten the rules of the house? They don't come knowing the rules. They have to be taught what is appropriate. Do you want them to get up on the furniture, or do you not want them to be on the furniture? Do you want them to be crated, want your dog to be crated while you're gone? Well, then you can't be gone for 48 hours.
Can you commit to taking the dog to a veterinarian for regular checkups?
It costs a lot of money.
That's true.
Is there a small child in the family? And if so, would it ever be left alone with this animal? It shouldn't be, because like that little toy you're holding there, that's how they regard an animal if they're that young. They don't know the difference, so they may try to pick it up by an ear. And if you were a dog being picked up by your ear, you'd want to lash out a little bit.
You want to protect yourself. You have to look at, do you have enough time to spend with the animal? They need some companionship. Do you have time to play with them? Do you have time to walk them? Make sure that your house is pet ready. We had a beautiful cat come in, a year or so ago. A beautiful white cat was brought in because the family had recarpeted the home in blue carpet. And the white fur didn't go with it, so they brought the cat in. This is a living, breathing, sentient being. It's not a pair of shoes or a lamp that you can just exchange when it doesn't match the decor.
Right. Well, I'm experiencing that now. I have a 2-year-old dog and a 14-year-old dog.
Oh.
And we just recarpeted, and the older dog is suffering from doggy dementia.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting the carpet confused with outside.
Yes,
I mean, we
sure.
had the dog for 14 years, but I just had it go through a series of blood tests, which cost $90 to see if there was anything wrong with it and so on. And we changed its dog food, and it's on all types of medication.
Yes.
But it's a member of the family, and you can't
Absolutely.
at 14 years old just say, well, you're not playing by the rules, so we have to get rid of you or you don't match the decor.
That's right. That's right.
And especially since with the 2-year-old, we have just gone through training her. So it's like one has been trained and now the
Yeah.
other is
Right.
going
Yeah,
back. And some of these animals live a long time.
Yes, they do. Our dog that we had just before Bart lived 16 and a half years. She was wonderful. When she died, we were just in a black hole of despair and depression and gloom. We got Bart right away. And
And we got Sweetie
and-
to be company for Bart, because we're out traveling to schools quite a lot, and we just felt Bart could use some company. We didn't know whether it would work out or not.
And they're
but,
close in age. A lot of times,
close.
if you have a big difference in age, like in my case, they aren't great buddies because the younger one is just too frisky
Right.
for the
yeah,
older one.
this is true. But these two, Sweetie would just play 24 hours a day. Bart likes to think about things first.
Well, now looking at these two dogs, and I must bring up the fact I bought Marla, my 2-year-old, at a pet store. And it was pretty pricey. And I thought because of the looks of the store, I was getting a top quality dog. And I look at these two well-behaved dogs, and they obviously weren't as expensive, but they seem to be better dogs. Can we address the puppy mill issue?
Sure can.
Because that was the first experience I had had with puppy mills, and basically, I think many of the puppy mills are feeding these pet stores.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You bet they are. It's a business.
Yep.
They're just cranking out dogs. Most of them live in despicable conditions. If
Terrible.
you saw a puppy mill, you'd just weep. The poor dogs never have any personal attention. They rarely get a breath of fresh air. They never get out and play. They just keep having puppies. And there's inbreeding goes on. This is breeding them too close together, siblings too close together, and then you get behavioral problems, you get physical problems. It's a terrible way to make money.
Well, would you suggest not buying them from pet stores?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I certainly would, because rescue an animal. Go to a shelter and rescue an animal that already knows the rules. Sweetie already knew the rules when we got her. She was housebroken, and Bart was housebroken. He was 5 months old when we got him.
Well, my example with Marla from the pet store, she only weighed 1.5 pounds, and I bought her in Florida, and it was during Christmas vacation 2 years ago, and by the time I came back, I had, well, she was in an animal hospital for 5 days. She went into a coma. They had to give her IV. She had to have special food. She had kennel cough, worms. And the lady said, well, bring her back and I'll exchange her. Well, I knew if I brought her back to her, she would kill her. So I just kept her. But since that time, I thought, gee, the place looks so neat and so clean. It had little cribs and things for the little dogs. And you just go in and feel so sorry for them and fall in love with them. But I'm a big proponent now of not buying a dog from a pet store because of my experience.
Right. It's just another business. And the animals are not healthy generally. We hear that story over and over and over again, especially with the small dogs. Most everybody wants a smaller dog, like their Marla.
Right.
And they're not very often really healthy.
Well, we're addressing the not healthy issue. I think we should talk about how you euthanize the dogs that you have to
Okay.
euthanize.
Tom and I don't do that, of course.
Let's talk first about why we have to euthanize them.
That's a good point.
Okay, first of all, we've talked about very unhealthy animals that are brought to us and the ones that have been abused and so on. But then you have the very healthy, happy animal that is brought to us quite often. But if they don't find a home within a fairly reasonable period of time and have to stay in a cage away from their family, they're going to become just like you and I would, very stressed, and they become physically sick.
Right.
And
Sweetie was in a cage for almost 4 weeks before we finally adopted her. We had commitments. We couldn't bring her home
just
because we
beginning
didn't
to
have
show
time.
some signs of
She was
stress.
just beginning to show it. So we had to overcome
But
those.
you're pretty happy now, aren't you?
When we brought her home. Had a few accidents, but she's a pretty cool little girl. And
So that would be one reason if the dog is stressed and you can't find a home for it, and you know a dog cannot live in a cage for any extended period
nor
of time.
can a cat. And we recognize the stress. They aren't glad to see people anymore. They hang to the back of the cage. They don't eat. They look sad. Now, you may think, well, it's a dog, it's a cat. It looks sad. Well, their faces can express more than we even dream. They can definitely look sad. And then it's time. And sometimes when we have a real flood of animals, such as will be happening soon because the Christmas presents will start coming back or coming in, there's simply not room to keep them all. And why keep an animal or a whole lot of animals that you know aren't going to find homes? Why let them get stressed? It's a difficult situation. I might, while we're on this topic, suggest this book. It's just a wonderful
Inhumane
Society by Michael W. Fox. He's with the Humane Society of the United States, and it's just a wonderful way of looking at animals. And these other books are excellent too. But when it comes time to euthanize them, it's done two people, usually working together. One holds the animal and loves it and caresses it, while the other person finds the vein, and the chemical is sodium pentobarbital, I think. I'm not certain. I think that's what it is. And it goes right in the vein and goes directly to the heart. There's no discomfort for the animal. We were with our old dog, Blondie, when she was put to sleep. And we saw she just went limp. And she, we were holding her. And she, it's the humane thing to do rather than let them suffer.
One of the sad things to think about is that some of these animals that we have to euthanize, when they're being cuddled and just before the injection, that could very well be the happiest and most comfortable moment of their lives. It's very sad how human beings treat animals. It just, this has to change.
We had a situation where an elderly lady living in a rural area had a cat come to her door. It was a pregnant female, apparently. The cat had its litter. She fed the cat. The litter grew. She fed the litter. They began inbreeding. by the time we were called into the picture by the family, the old lady died. And we were brought into the picture, and they brought us the cats, all the cats they could find. There were 17 cats.
Oh, my.
No, excuse me, there were 27 cats over a period of about 14 months. And they were all diseased. And
Oh.
it just, we had
Now,
to
here's
put
a
them right there.
well-meaning person that just hasn't got the whole picture. It's a shame.
It's-
Euthanize, by the way, it's from a Greek word meaning kind death, and it's very appropriate.
We are doing better placing animals, and the number of animals being turned in is coming down. The figures are going in the right direction. In 1997, 2,399 animals were brought in, and we found homes for 79. That's not very, well, that was better than the year before, and the year before was better than the year before. But last year, we had 1,805 animals brought in, and we found homes for 111. So that is much better. But we want it to be even better. And if we can develop the fostering program, get vaccination clinics going, eventually have a spay and neuter clinic, we can really bring those figures down. Then the Humane Society will be an educational facility and keep the learning out there, how to
As well
deal
it
with your
should
pets.
become.
Yeah.
All right, you said you go into the schools. What exactly do you teach the
Oh.
children,
Well, we stress pet owner responsibility,
which focuses on?
all the things that we've just been talking about as to how having a pet is a commitment, a long-time commitment, quite often.
The need for pets to see a veterinarian regularly, need for them to eat the appropriate food, need for them to have the appropriate grooming. For example, some dogs need to be groomed. They need to have their hair trimmed. Cocker Spaniels' hair mats. Oh, it can be really bad. They have to be taken care of regularly, and several other breeds do too. And we teach boys and girls how to be safe with pets, with their pets and with other people's pets. We have 5 different programs that we take to the schools, and the one we do most is called Dogs, Cats, and Kids. And this features a couple of young people, and they show us that, for example, you're out playing, you're out in the schoolyard, and a stray dog comes along. What do kids normally want to do? Well, they yell and holler and run, right? Wrong. Shouldn't do that. You stand like a tree. So we have the kids stand like a tree, and you put your fingers into your sides and put your feet together, because if your feet are apart, a dog can go between and just tip you right over. And you look out. You don't look a dog in the eyes. If it's a dog you don't know, now we can look at Bart and Sweetie in the eye all the time, but dogs that you don't know, you don't, because it can be perceived as aggression. And so they look out and keep their mouths closed.
Try to be as boring as you can.
Possible.
The
And if
most
they're already-
uninteresting thing, a tree.
Right, and
Oh, that's
if they're on the ground already, or if the dog knocks them down, then roll up like a ball, put your fists over your ears, tuck your head down, put your knees up to your chin, and just lay there.
Like
And the
a
dog will
rock.
sniff around and eventually go away and leave you. And then you walk
Good tips.
to an adult. You don't run. You don't run and holler. Those are just some of the things that we do.
Well, this Stop Pet Overpopulation
Right.
application we have here, would you like to address
I would
that?
love to. Stop Pop is an organization that will help people have their pets spayed or neutered. Humane Society is part of this, and we'll pay for about half of the cost of families who need the help. If families don't need the help, we really would like to focus on families who do need help getting this surgery. You fill out this application and mail it into the box on the bottom, and then you'll get another piece of paper, and I just fill that out. And all the veterinarians in the area, I believe, are a part of this. And
Want to share the prices with them? I thought.
well, for a male cat, Stop Pop will pay $15. For a male dog, $25. For a female cat, $25. For a female dog, $40. So that's a considerable saving.
Right.
The state of Michigan now has all shelters charge $25 for unneutered or spayed animals. You have to leave a deposit of $25. When you bring in proof that the animal has been fixed, then your $25 is refunded.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Now, at the Humane Society, we insist that people do that anyway. We did that even before the $25 fee was imposed by the state. But we have people sign a legal document saying they will do that, and they turn in the paperwork from the vet at the appropriate time, and everything's cool.
Oh, they're going to be happier with a spayed animal
Absolutely.
anyway.
They're
Or neutered.
healthier. They're less likely to develop cancer as they grow older. They're not aggressive. They're not going out looking for a cat or a dog of the opposite sex. The cats are less likely to want to mark their territory in the house. And of course, cats should be kept in the house because there are all those diseases out there waiting to pounce on them. They get into fights, territorial fights out. When they're running around loose, they can get hit by cars, just as dogs can be hit by cars and trucks when they're running loose. Animals just shouldn't be running loose. You should always know where your pet is. And while we're on that topic, your little buddy there has ID tags.
Yes.
Now, you can buy beautiful collars for your pets, but a beautiful collar without an ID tag is a totally useless piece of stuff.
And sometimes pets do get
Yes, they do.
loose.
Yes, they do. Now, we used to,
Bart.
Bart, yeah. We used to take the dog's collars off when we'd go to bed because they'd move around during the night and shake and things, and the jingling would wake us up. Well, then I read an article that said, what if there's an emergency at night and you have to get out of the house quickly?
Oh, good
Am I
point.
going to remember where I put the collar, for one thing? Am I going to take time to put it on? No. So now we leave their collars on, and we got used to it.
Don't even hear it.
Not a problem.
Well, what are the issues, the most important issues that are facing the Humane Society today, would you say?
Well, I think it goes right back to this pet overpopulation thing. It's just primary concern. That's why the emphasis is so much on spaying and neutering, which seems to be the only solution we have right now. You know, so many parents, I think, have these expectations, I guess. They want to show their child the wonder of birth. It's great, yeah. But maybe they should be brought into the Humane Society and see the horrible situation
tragedy
of death
Of youth.
Right.
that has to happen because of this.
Well, and definitely another thing you'd like to focus on is more funding.
Oh,
If
yes.
really, people could
Yes.
be, in the community could become involved, help more with the Humane Society.
We have
fund-
volunteer openings.
Yep.
We have several fundraisers planned throughout the year. People can be involved that way. People can, if they're creative, they can do whatever kind of craft things they want and contribute them to the different fundraisers. They can come out and help at the shelter in different ways.
Ooh,
They're just, and of course, money is always appropriate.
Yes.
It's just always appropriate to give money.
It takes a good bit of money to keep animals in a shelter healthy and happy. It's not just the food and the care, but you know, you have to have money to keep the lights on and the heat on, and so
Well, if there are people out there that want to volunteer their time or volunteer their services, how can they get a hold of you?
They can call the Humane Society at 987-4357, and we're located at 6266 Lapeer Road. And the answer to your question is, I think, kind of a three-part circle, three arcs of a circle. We need people, we need money, we need space. In order to have more space, we need more money. In order to work in the more space, we need more people. So it just goes round and round. But it really all comes back to money. We could really use more money. The community has been most generous, though. But there's always room for another nickel.
Especially with all the dogs and cats around. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. And
Yep.
thank you, Bert and Sweetie, for coming along with your parents.
Oh,
And-
and you say you're welcome?
They were
Yeah.
excited. They were really excited. You can see how excited Bart is.
That's right. And thank all of you out there. We'll see you next time on Real TV.
This has been a presentation of CPHS 6 in cooperation with Harrington Community